Wonderful. So welcome to Age Beautifully Through Movement, part 2. Some of you have seen part 1, and if you haven't, that's okay. This is part 2, and I'm going to hand over to Tania now. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Faith. So yes, this is part 2, but we did a session last year about aging beautifully through movement. So we will go over the things briefly that we kind of did last session, so you won't be missing out on anything. But I just want to kind of expand that, and my goal, I suppose, today is just to create more curiosity around movement, how it can enhance your life and how we can actually make it part of our life. So yeah, let's get started. I'll just quickly a little bit about me. So I'm the owner of Beautiful Midlife Health Coaching. This is my passion in life. I love helping women 50 plus kind of just age their best and live their best lives through health. Yeah, it's just totally my passion. I love it. So I'm an accredited health coach. I've been a registered personal trainer for 30 years. I'm a menopause workplace trainer, meditation teacher. I love dark chocolate 85% at the moment. I call myself an Ironman because I completed a full Ironman triathlon when I was 52, and I kind of had this thing that I wasn't really an athlete. So now I'm trying to own it. So I say I'm an Ironman now. And I've got this gorgeous Kelpie, Chili, who is one of my biggest motivators for actually staying fit, because he needs lots of walking. He's got a neurological disease, so he's not allowed to run around. So I have to take him for lots of walks. So it's a great thing for my exercise. So as I said, I kind of just want today's session to really maybe spark some curiosity and for us to think a little differently about movement. Because sometimes it can kind of feel like, you know, when we talk about movement, it's all about going to the gym or whatever. And movement doesn't necessarily have to be that. And we can incorporate movement into our life in quite simple ways, but they have profound effects. So that's something I'd really like you to think about as we go through today. So just quickly about what we'll cover: how movement can allow you to look and feel great, getting curious about movement, changing your narrative maybe about aging and movement, exploring ways to move, and then creating your ideal plan. And I just want to note here that, you know, I'm really passionate about, my slide doesn't work out very well, I'll have to fix that for another one, is that knowledge really is power. But when we put knowledge and action into force, then it becomes a superpower. So I really do believe that empowered women are more likely to not just survive, but thrive. And it really is up to us to you know, learn to have that knowledge, and coming to these sessions obviously is part of that, and then putting things into action. So I encourage you today, after today's session, to try to put something that you've learned in action. And just also noting here that you are unique. So who you are today at this moment is based on so many factors. So for women who are kind of over 50, you know, we've had decades of things that influence who we are. There's genetics, culture, lifestyle, just life circumstances, injuries, medical conditions. There's a whole lot of stuff. So just knowing that what's appropriate for someone else might not work for you. And it really is important to find the best way to create your healthiest body and life, and that it's not going to be the same as someone else. So how movement can help you look and feel great. So I like to kind of just, you know, think of movement in the terms of like a holistic way of leading a healthy life. And so I have this MELT method that I utilize in my work as a health coach. And you can just see here from this diagram how movement is kind of just part of the whole picture, but it's a really important part. And, you know, we can't really look at aspects of our health in isolation. We can't really just look at nutrition, or we can't really just look at, you know, not maybe taking a medication or something. We need to look at all of our health as though it's connected, because it really is. So, you know, how we move, eat, think, and then live is so important. And I think when we start moving, because I'm a person, have a personal training background, I really do see the benefits of moving and how that can positively influence all of these other things. So I just know myself, if I'm moving my body regularly, then I tend to eat a little bit better. I've got a better mindset about things, and then it just transfers over into my everyday life, and I'm actually living a better life. So that's kind of what I want to try to get across here, is that if we can start moving more, it can impact all of these other areas of our life and create this fabulous snowball effect. So I sort of, as Faith said that, you know, you can stay off mute, but if you'd like to come off mute and just share throughout the session, I'd love that, because I learned something from everyone that I talk to in these sessions. Or you can put it in the chat. So, you know, I just wonder whether you'd like to share, you know, how movement, if you know, are moving in your life, how it can benefit you personally, or how, if you aren't moving, how you think it could benefit you personally. So if anyone would like to share, that would be great. I just know for myself that, you know, like I said, when I'm moving, everything else in my life seems to get better when I'm moving my body regularly. So yeah, would anyone like to share? Thanks, Monique.
I suppose for me, when I'm moving, I feel younger. Like I feel like my old self that's vibrant and can do all these things. So I might not be, you know, I'm trying to do 30 minutes of yoga a day, but it's not proper yoga. It's half stretching and half yoga, half strength. So
That's yoga.
yeah, but like it's not like but just doing it and putting on my leggings and wearing my fitness clothes makes me connect back to how like I like that person, and and my brain works better, and yeah.
I really like that, because I think that it sounds like that is the person that maybe you identified with in the past, but maybe you seem like you've lost it a little bit, and that's who you want to kind of be again, if that makes it. Am I getting that right? And doing actually helps you identify as that person who you really aspire to be again, and maybe get that kind of feeling back. Yeah,
That's actually very insightful.
Yeah, that's really good. I really like that. Would anyone else like to share? Thanks. Sorry, I can't see that. Everyone very well, but I've just seen you. Thanks.
So I'll just jump in while we're waiting for anyone else. Yeah, look, I went to do HIIT this morning because I've got like a knee injury. It's easy for me to think, oh, I won't do anything because I don't want to make it worse. But I know that I get much stiffer if I don't do anything. And I went to do my HIIT this morning. I was saying to my partner how I felt so grateful that I have that, because even though there was things I couldn't do, there was probably 80% I could do, and I could still protect my knee. But just doing the movement just made me feel much more positive about the whole journey.
Yeah, I really like that, Faith, because it's so true. You know, it's kind of move it or lose it. Like I've got my osteoarthritic toe joint, and the natural tendency is to protect it and not move it, but actually not moving it makes it stiffer. So, and I think the message as well that I like to try to get across is that everything's adaptable, and you know, just like you said, just doing what you can do is so important. And you know, being okay with not being able to do everything, but just getting out there and doing what you can. It's great. Thank you.
I can see Cleo wants to share.
Yes,
Cleo, do you want to go?
Oh yeah. Oh, hi everyone. Yeah, I've related to so much, Tanya, what you've been saying already. I have a kind of a rotation system. So swimming for me is number one with a bullet. I'm a mermaid. Sometimes air is just too heavy. I've been swimming with Faith for years, so she knows I share that passion with her. And I even swim in cold water, which has become a sort of a real skyrocket in, you know, energetically. But I also have really learnt to love strength training. And I find that sometimes if you don't want to huff and puff, just that thing of just focusing on a muscle. And I mean, I know a lot of people hate the gym. And I know if I don't go for a week, it's like I've never been. And it's just a drag, which is why I try and do it early. But there's something about warrior woman, you know, there's something about just feeling yourself do something better and better every day that increases your range of movement, which I know a lot of people love about yoga. It's like the rust is just literally coming out and everything just moves more elegantly and wider and longer, you know. But I also find walking is a fantastic meditation. And I remember once someone said to me, and it was in the middle of a work day when I used to work in a magazine, and she said, would you mind if we do a walk and talk meeting? And it really blew my mind. And she said it's changed her life, even if it's a phone thing, that sitting and talking on the phone for an hour is a complete waste if you're on the couch. You know, that is something. So now I try and do my social calls when I'm on a walk, and it just feels, you know, I realize how much time I used to spend just sitting chatting, and that was a wasted opportunity because we're all time poor. So that's something I feel I try and implement, you know, one or two of those things a day. And I also live in a house with 3 stairs, and it was always kind of like a buzzkill that I had to put up with to get the privacy in the wilderness that I live in. And I remember another girlfriend of me one day said, well, no, that's actually a massive bonus, because you just run up and down the stairs to go to your kitchen and your bedroom and your life, and you literally have no choice. There's no psychological block. You would never do those stairs if you had a choice. And I realized it's true how much fitter I am when I'm mountain goating up and down, and how much psychology holds me back. Because if someone said, oh, do you want to walk those 3 flights of stairs for no good reason? I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, so I realize how all of our suffering gets in the way, you know. So I think that, I guess my big takeaway is, if it's implemented and it's kind of just organically part of your day, you don't have time to start second guessing yourself as much.
Yeah, you touch on so many things that we're going to cover today. So thank you, Cleo. Yeah, I think, you know, feeling strong is very empowering. So I think strength training, you know, it can be scary, it can be daunting, but it is empowering. We'll touch on strength training a bit later. The walking thing, I totally agree. Actually, I call my mum most mornings when I'm out walking the dog. I think it's a really good opportunity. When I was working in an office, I implemented walking meetings. Again, that's really great. And the stair thing is excellent. Like, just, yeah, we will touch on this as well later, how we can incorporate movement just into our everyday life, and it kind of becomes effortless and we don't think about it. And that's one of the best ways to actually improve our health through fitness. So thank you for that. Okay, let's keep going. I'm just going to quickly go through these movement benefits. So there's so many. I mean, you know, I think we all know this. We all know that movement's good for us, whether we all do it or not. And I'm guilty as well. I've been training with weights since I was 14. I have been a trainer for over 30 years. I still struggle with that as well. So, you know, but we do know that there's all these benefits. So, you know, there's mental benefits, improve our mood, increases our sex drive. Does everyone just mind popping on mute, please? It's just some noise coming through. It helps us manage our stress. It helps us build some self-confidence. With our physical kind of thing, this is just a little brief overview. It helps to increase our metabolism. It helps our skin age better, actually, which is like a bonus. That's one of the biggest bonuses. I think it's kind of like our kind of almost free magic pill for aging well with our skin. Improves our posture, helps our balance, which is so important as we age. And then there's biology. You know, it helps improve our immune system, helps us sleep better, reduces our disease risk, and it helps to manage our biological clock. So that's just kind of a few things. There's so many benefits, and I think we kind of all know that deep down. So again, today, I really wanted people to get more curious about movement, more curious about how their thoughts about movement, as Cleo was saying, like, you know, our mindset is really important as far as this movement stuff goes, and just also getting curious about just our aging process and movement. So this is just something that's another thing to think about. So just thinking about, you know, your priorities, and just looking at this myself. So I have to do this myself quite regularly because, you know, although health and wellness is like at the top of my list of values, sometimes I don't actually live that way. Sometimes I go, oh no, I've got to keep working and I haven't got time to exercise or whatever. I haven't got time to eat properly. So just looking at this is a nice reminder. So just thinking about where you currently place prioritizing regular movement in your life. And then also where you would like to place regular movement. So for example, for me, I think I'm about a 7 at the moment, which is pretty good. It's not bad, but I'd really prefer to be at a 9 or a 10. So we've got a couple of minutes. If someone wants to just share, if anyone, maybe 2 people would like to share maybe where they're at and where they'd like to be, if they're willing to do so. Faith, can you just see people, because I can't see everyone.
Yeah, look, I can't see, but I can see Jodie's got a really good thing on there. Jodie, do you want to just share yours? That's really interesting.
Sure. When I was in my 40s, I was diagnosed with spinal stenosis, which is how he described it to me is the tube around my spine is actually shrinking. And they told me I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was probably early 60s. But I'm not, because I said no. And walking every day, and it might only be as simple as every hour I get up and walk to the front door and back a couple of times. But by keeping moving, it's keeping me out of a wheelchair. It stops me stiffening up. So it's really important. So I'm probably on a 7 or 8 at the moment. I do get sidetracked, but like you, I'd like to be more focused on getting myself or keeping myself moving.
Yeah, thanks, Jodie. That's amazing. And that's such a good example of, you know, how important it is to, you know, to question things, like, you know, and not allow the idea that you could be in a wheelchair to stop you from maybe trying to change that narrative and change the outcome, which is really great. It's such a great example. Thanks for sharing that. If no one else wants to share, we'll just keep going. Is anyone, can you just look and check whether anyone else is popping up their hands, Faith, for me? No?
Not that I can see.
That's right, thank you. So I just thought I'd kind of share a few statements here. I think these are really important. I looked at these myself, and it really does make me think more about how important movement is in our life. So this statement, how you move is how you live. And I really do believe that's, you know, kind of true. Like, for example, I've got a couple of examples, just women who live in my street. There's a lady across the road. She's, I think she's more around 60, so a bit older than me. I'm 55. She has got 10 kids. She's got a few grandkids now. There's a million people over at that house all of the time. She has just started going to uni, never before studied, which is really exciting for her. She works part-time. And still, every morning she is out, she rides down to the beach, which is 8 kilometres from our house, goes for a swim all year round, doesn't matter what the conditions are, and rides back. She prioritises her health, and I think that allows her to manage this, like, what looks like a crazy life, but she manages it really beautifully and quite calmly in between all of that chaos. And I think, you know, this movement thing, there's something to it, if that makes sense. Another lady that lives just down the street from me as well, she's an author. She's around 70. Every morning, without fail, she gets up, does half an hour gardening, then she'll go out and take her dog for a walk, and then a little bit later I'll see her out riding her bike or doing something else. And then she's working most of the rest of the day. But she goes, that is just the way I get myself started. I know that I've set myself up for a good day. And then she works on her books and things that she's writing. And just another example of how movement is facilitating her living this, you know, life, and really well into her older years. So yeah, the ways you move are really directly linked to the way you think, feel, and live. And I really do believe that. I think this, you know, if we can create more movement in our life, it really does positively impact it so much. And, you know, of course, we all know this, a body in motion will age better than one on the couch. That doesn't mean that we don't have to have some downtime. Definitely, we need to balance that movement with rest and recuperation. But just thinking that, you know, the more we can move, the better we are. And just again, like going back to that my melt method, where your movement and health habits are intertwined with your core values and your worldview. So again, you know, just thinking about, like me, for example, that, you know, health is really important for me, but for some reason, sometimes I find myself putting it down my to-do list. And so when I can go back to my values and think, no, this is really important to me, then I can put it back up there. And this other statement, the way we do one thing is the way we do all things. And I kind of, again, it just all relates. Like, you know, one little piece of improving your health, like moving more, can impact all other areas of your health. And then just considering how movement and life overlap. So I think there's some really good, I don't know, just some good nuggets to think about when you leave this today. And I hope, yeah, you can have a think about how that might apply to you. I just want to touch quickly on how we can use both extrinsic and intrinsic motivators to move more. So generally, most kind of psychology practices would think that we need intrinsic motivation to move our bodies more. So that is the things that are internal to us. So things like I move my body because it makes me feel good. I move my body because it brings me joy and I make it, you know, I feel happy. It's just part of my life. It feels effortless, like kind of Cleo was saying about walking up and down the stairs, and just it improves my overall health. So they're the intrinsic reasons why personally I probably exercise. And when we look at extrinsic things, so generally if you're trying to exercise, for example, to for someone else, because someone said that you need to, you know, say a doctor tells you you need to lose weight and reduce your cholesterol or something like that, the motivation's not quite there. It might be if maybe your health condition is bad enough that it's affecting your life. If you can't really see it or feel it, sometimes it's hard to use that extrinsic motivation to actually create that movement in your life. However, there are some kind of exclusions to this, and I think there are some extrinsic factors that can really help us, motivate us to move more, and then it becomes more of that intrinsic way of feeling. So it makes us feel good. It makes us feel like it's who we are. It aligns with our values. So things like an event goal. So on the weekend, my daughter and I are doing a half marathon, which is 21.1 kilometre run. And I just know for a fact that if I didn't have this event coming up, there's no way I would have been regularly running. I probably would have run once a week. I've been running regularly like 3 times a week for the last few months, getting ready for this event. So that's been a really good motivator for me to kind of get my running going. Again, things like hiking. I love multi-day hiking. So if I'm preparing for a multi-day hike, I'm out there hiking. I'm out there putting my pack on, going up and down some hills, trying to get my body ready. So they're kind of intrinsic ways to help motivate me to move more. Things like an appointment, so making an appointment either, for example, like with a personal trainer, or making an appointment with a friend to go walking. They're kind of it's an extrinsic kind of way to motivate you to move more. But it can become a habit and then become an intrinsic kind of way. And then rewards. So I kind of try to avoid rewarding with things like food. I must admit, my daughter and I have this beautiful ritual of, after we go for our long runs on the weekend, we usually go to a bakery and get a croissant, or there's this amazing saffron and vanilla bun that I love from this specific bakery that I try to go to as much as possible. Generally, I try not to reward with food because it can kind of mess up our, you know, an intuitive way of eating, but it's okay sometimes. With rewards, I think maybe say you say, you know, I'm going to exercise 3 times a week for 4 weeks, and at the end of that, if I've succeeded, maybe I'll shout myself to a massage, or maybe I'll buy a new outfit to work out. So that's kind of a reward system that helps you keep accountable and helps motivate you to make this part of your life. And then there's external validation. So do you know what? I always used to think that I had to just have this intrinsic way of thinking about health. But for example, when I trained for my Ironman, I had a coach who wrote my programs, and I trained for a long time for this. I trained for about 3 years. I'd actually studied how to write programs. The program was basically the same nearly every month, but having that external validation, knowing that someone else is looking at my program and maybe giving me a little high five every now and then for what I was doing, it kind of helped me maintain that training program for that big long time that I was doing, and it helped me. So sometimes having some external validation is really useful. So maybe like a trainer at a gym, or like a health coach. Like I work with a lot of women, and what I do a lot of the time is help them to realize their successes that they've had during the week. Because sometimes, you know, we forget about all of the little things that we've achieved throughout a week or a month. And when someone else is there helping you to point that out, that can actually give you more motivation to keep moving and make exercise and movement part of your life. So just some more things to think about there. So that's a terrible way that's turned out. But this is, I just want to talk about that we should never stop playing and being curious and having fun. And I think this makes exercise so much fun. So I was just at my mum's house a week or so ago, and she's so funny. My mum's never done any formal exercise in her life, but she's an amazing hooper, and she will get her hoop out and entertain us. I'll just play that again. Can everyone see that? Can you just have a thumbs up that you can see that? Yeah, great. And I just think this is a great example. So mum's 78, never done any formal exercise. She's just mows her own lawns and keeps fairly active just overall. But she hoops, and she has fun. And I think, and this is kind of the things, you know, if we can do more things like this is what will help us create a healthy, vibrant life as we age. So just an example. And all this, obviously, this curiosity flows on to changing your narrative about aging and movement. So, you know, there's a lot of outdated views about aging and movement around. And I think we're in this stage of life where we can actually change that narrative. So, you know, the narratives are things like, once we reach a certain age, decline is expected. And do you know what? We are going to age. We're aging from when we were born. And, you know, there is going to be some changes, but does that mean it has to be all doom and gloom? I don't think so. And with these aging narratives, they can become self-fulfilling prophecies. So I find myself as well sometimes going, oh, I think I'm too old for that now. And then I have to kind of catch myself and go, hang on, am I really too old? Am I really not capable of doing that? Or is it just my mind telling me that? Is it really, you know, true? So, you know, sometimes I'm not saying that we can do everything that we did when we were younger, but there may be some things that we are saying we can't do that actually it's just our mindset and not our body saying that. But when we do tell our body that we can't do it, it can become this vicious cycle where we do stop doing things. So it's a really important thing, I think, to really think about how we talk to ourselves. And, you know, our approach can be really psychologically limiting. And yeah, as again, it's important to think about the language we use to ourselves. And just noting as well that, you know, the current data about aging for women in their 80s, 90s, that kind of comes, you know, that's not now. That comes from like my mother's era, even my grandmother's era. So we're looking at data that is kind of a bit outdated as well. So we can kind of, maybe we have this opportunity to change that data and create different ways of, you know, living a healthy life for our next generation to come. So just another thing to think about. And I just want to kind of, I just looked up a few little things just recently about just some ideas about, you know, age doesn't have to limit you. Like, I'm not saying I can do anything like these women, but it kind of makes me think about, you know, what is possible. So, for example, Diane Nyad, 63, she's from 100 miles, 53 hours nonstop from Florida to Cuba. So there's a Netflix movie out at the moment called Nyad with Jodie Foster and Annette Bening. And so really great. I'd watch it if you have access to Netflix. It's really, really good. And just seeing this lady, I was actually at the time, just before this movie came on Netflix, saying, I think I'm too old to do another Ironman. I watched this and I thought, oh my God, I'm so not too old. I think I'm going to do it. So I think seeing other people being really active in their lives, and it doesn't have to be these crazy feats. It can just be like my neighbor who's out, you know, riding and down to the swimming and things every day, and other women doing things like that can really help motivate you. And this lady, Tamay, I think her name is Watanabe, summited Mount Everest when she was 73. That is just incredible. And then this lady who looks like, oh my goodness, she looks like she's in her 50s. But anyway, Mathia Allen Smith was 92 when she completed the Honolulu Marathon. I think that was in 2022. Like, that is just incredible. I just, you know, when I think about my nan when she was 92 compared to this lady out doing this, just incredible. Just shows you what is possible. Doesn't mean it's possible for you, but just, you know, making you realize that perhaps you're capable of more than you think you are. And that's something I have to tell myself constantly. Actually, I'll just go back there. I'd just like to open it up and see whether there's anyone here that would like to share about someone they know or someone they've heard of that has done something really amazing, you know, as they're aging. And it doesn't have to be a crazy event like this. It can just be something like my neighbours, for example, or if they're doing it themselves.
You know, going for mornings, that's me, it's Faith. Going for morning swims, you know, you always see women of all ages, and especially the ones around, you know, 70, 80, 90, and they're so strong and they're just going for it. I mean, they absolutely inspire me, and I love looking at those sort of women.
Yeah, that's a great, you're so lucky to have that pool. It's the Coogee Women's Pool, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
You're so lucky to have that. I'm so jealous. I just think that's so amazing. And I think it's very inspiring to see other people out doing things, isn't it? And not, you know, I'm sure that not everyone's completely able-bodied or whatever, but they're still out there doing the best they can. Anyone else want to share anything? No? That's right, keep going. So just touching on here why mindset matters, which I think I've kind of already shown, but you know, how you view both your age narrative and also your movement narrative can really impact how you age and move. And every cell of your body really is constantly listening to your thoughts. So again, we're coming back to this curiosity thing. So taking an approach of curiosity, I can't even say it, and openness to aging and movement really can serve us so well. And it really is possible to age vibrantly, but it's mostly up to us. So, you know, there is a genetic factor, there's all these other factors involved, but, you know, we can go from where we are now and make improvements actually, you know, just by our way we think and our actions. And that really is up to us. And I just thought I'd share this little bit. I don't know whether anyone knows about this experiment. It was done in 1981. I just thought I'd touch on it because I think about this all the time. I just think how amazing it is. So this lady, Ellen Langer, she's a professor in, I can't even remember where, somewhere, a psychologist, and she put 8 men who were in their 70s, they put them in this house that had been set up like it was 20 years ago. So it was decorated the way it was. They had music in there the way it was, food, all of those things. And they had to live. They had to go in there and live and pretend they were 20 years younger for 5 days, just 5 days. And it was just the results that came out of that was just amazing. So they had men going in there with walking sticks and walking frames, coming out without them, people who couldn't climb the stairs when they got in there, being able to climb the stairs. Like, this is just in a short time. And they even, I think they talk about, well, they were waiting for the bus to go back to the university or something. They had this impromptu game of touch football. So all of these men who had, some of them had quite, you know, bad health conditions. Everyone had improved and all of their health markers had improved and all of those kind of things. And I just think this is such a great example of how, you know, our mindset really is so powerful. If we think we're old, we kind of act old. And on the other hand, if we think we're young, we can, you know, our body actually listens to us. So it's really fascinating. So, you know, how can you set yourself up to change the way you age? So regardless of where you are now, you can, you know, make improvements, you can create change. And starting with that is, you know, just changing your mindset about aging and movement. And one of the things I think is so important is surrounding yourself with the right people. So like Faith said, down at the pool, like she has these inspirational women around her doing this kind of stuff. And myself, just the 2 ladies in my street, the one across the road who I see riding back when I'm sometimes just getting out of bed, and the other lady down the road when I'm walking my dog, she's already done, you know, her gardening and her bike ride or whatever. So, you know, when you surround yourself with people that are living vibrantly, that are doing things, it really can help. And on the other hand, if you're surrounding yourself with people who are, it's all doom and gloom, we're old, this is the end of our life, then you're probably going to start living that way as well. The other thing I think is so important is to step out of your comfort zone. So that's something that I have found, it might not seem like it the way I'm talking now, but for many decades of my life, I really struggled to step out of my comfort zone. Lots of reasons. I didn't want to look stupid. I was a bit of a perfectionist. I didn't like doing things unless I was really good at them. And when I reached the age my dad was, which was 47 when he died, something hit me. I think I was in perimenopause as well. And I started to change the way I thought. And I really started to step out of my comfort zone. And since then, I've achieved so much more than I ever thought possible for someone like me. I even saw a post recently saying, like, I did a marathon, which I'd been thinking about doing for 30 years, but I didn't think it was possible. I somehow did my marathon. And then I said, I think I'll do, I had this toe joint issue. So I said, I think I'll do a half Ironman triathlon because I just can't do a full Ironman. Well, I have done that full Ironman now. So I'm so glad that I didn't listen to that negative voice of mine and I thought differently and just stepped out of my comfort zone and did it. And again, this comes back to curiosity about doing things differently, like being open to explore new ways and do things differently. And I think it really is possible to reinvent the way you age, regardless of where you are at now, and move. And that is, again, really up to you. So exploring some different ways to move. So I just want to touch on here about the difference between exercise and movement. This is something I always like to, clarify, because, I've considered exercise is kind of a planned and structured, intentional movement. So things like going to the gym, going for a swim, maybe, and you go for a run and things like that. Movement, it's kind of broader. It includes exercise, but it's also just all the ways you move your body. So like Cleo said, walking up and down her stairs, all of those ways that you move your body in everyday life. And honestly, I actually think, although both exercise and movement, positively impact your health, and I really think this movement thing, there's a big thing about that. We really need to, there's no point going for an exercise class 2 or 3 times a week. So that's maybe maximum, say 3 hours, but then sitting down for the rest of the time. So it's all those little bits of movement you can do in your everyday life that really can have the most profound impact on your health and well-being overall. So please don't discount moving in everyday life. I'll just touch on it quickly. A couple of the ideal things that we can do for us. Obviously, sometimes it's just not going to work for you. So you don't have to do it. Don't feel bad if you can't do these things. I'm just going to touch on things that are considered optimal if you can. So strength training, we lose a significant amount of muscle mass as we transition through our menopause because of the drop in estrogen, and also with aging. And then again, I think there's another point around 70 where we lose another significant amount of muscle mass. I've noticed my mum actually, so she's 78, and she's kind of lost the last few years, she's lost a lot of her muscle mass. She was quite a fairly naturally muscular woman. She hasn't really changed much, but she hasn't made an effort to increase her muscle. So she has lost a lot. So it is possible to build muscle as older women, but we kind of need a very strategic approach. So ideally, we do kind of some heavier strength training, and that's heavier for you. That's not heavier for the person next to you. So it's something that we work up to, and just knowing as well that, everything's adaptable. So for example, like a squat is an ideal form of exercise. And I think we should all be squatting because I always say this, but we don't want to be in a nursing home waiting for someone to take us to the toilet. We want to be able to get out of our chair and walk to the toilet by ourselves. So that is one of my motivators for doing lots of squats in my life. But for example, if a squat with a weight isn't going to work for you, you can do things like a leg press to help build your strength up and maybe work on that first. So there's all different ways we can approach strength training, and it always is adaptable. And I always say about, people are uncomfortable with going to a gym. I don't go to a gym very often, but I do go in sometimes, and they'll be the most muscular guys ever doing the worst technique I've ever seen in my life. And they've created muscle because they're obviously heaving around quite heavy weights and things, but they're not doing it right most of the time. So don't feel uncomfortable going to a gym, because basically there's not very many people doing the right thing. So even the people who think they are actually aren't. So, trying to go, if you do feel uncomfortable going to gym and you want to try it, just know that it's okay to be a beginner, and most of the people around you are probably doing the wrong thing anyway. So that's fine. And if you can, strength training 3 times a week is ideal. Couple of times is really good as well. Even 1 time a week is better than none. And there's all those benefits there. I won't even go through them. There's just lots of things that it's good for. Then there's HIIT training. So HIIT training sounds scary because it's kind of this high intensity interval training. And the idea of that actually sounds scary when you think about it, but it doesn't have to be scary, and it can have lots of benefits. So it involves short bursts of intense exercise with recovery periods. It needs to be intense to create a stimulus, but that can be different for everyone again. So like I do HIIT training with running, but you don't have to do it running. You can do it on a stationary bike. And so that might look like, there's this protocol called the Tabata protocol, and which means it's 20 seconds flat out cycling, and then 10 seconds a bit easier, then 20 seconds flat out again, and 10 seconds a bit easier. And you do that 8 times. So that in itself is a really great HIIT training session. So I think that takes about 3 minutes. So say if you had 15 minutes, which is kind of about the ideal time for older women, if you did that Tabata thing twice in that, worked up to twice in that 15 minutes, then you'd be getting a really good workout. So just something to consider. It doesn't have to, if it doesn't work for your situation, that's fine. But these are kind of the optimal things that I'm sharing, just a couple of the optimal things. And then there's walking. So walking's come up quite a lot. And I just think walking is one of the most simplest, most strategic things you can do for your health. So walking is a big part of my life. I walk every morning without fail with my dog. We walk every evening after dinner. And then I try to get in, even if it's around, just once around the block or something in the middle of the day. And things like trying to, just these silly things, like trying to park a little bit further away at the shops, mostly because I don't really like parking next to other cars. So I just use that as a bonus for me to get some more walks in. Just finding ways to put more walking into your life is really, really helpful. There's, I don't think there's very many downsides. There's really only so many benefits, and it's simple and really available to almost all of us. And then there's incidental movement, which is kind of my most favorite type of movement. So it's all of that unstructured physical activities, which can include walking, but things that you do throughout the day. So one of the best things I like doing is gardening. I find that such good movement. I was out chopping down things the other day. So I'm up and down a ladder, chopping things down, and then I'm dragging things and pulling out weeds. So I'm moving my body in all different ways without even really realizing it's kind of exercise or movement. So that's one of the ways I like to, move my body. I just think, I think they call sitting the new smoking. So, if we are sitting all day, it's really hard to help our digestion, help the blood move through our body, help our metabolism. There's lots of detrimental things about sitting too long. So if we can get up, like Jodie was saying, she gets up and moves regularly, that's really, really helpful for us. And I just, we need to think about as well about our lifestyle. So our lifestyles, really, like this says, often so convenient that we don't have to move. So we can, just because we can get everything delivered to our door, it doesn't necessarily mean we should. Or we can get everything done for us without moving. It doesn't necessarily mean we should. So I always go back to this kind of idea about thinking about, what do you pay someone else to do to move for you? So you're paying someone else to exercise and they're getting the benefits, and you're kind of, you might be saving time, but is that really useful? Are you working? I have to say to people, are you working so you can pay someone else to exercise? Kind of defeats the purpose sometimes. So it's just something to think about. And just thinking about how you can move more in your everyday life, but still being time efficient. I think that comes back to what Cleo was saying about, the stairs and things like that. That's an efficient way to get more exercise without even thinking about it. So would anyone like to share if they've got any ideas about some incidental movement that they might like to do or should do or do?
They're quiet.
I'll give you an example of a lady I was speaking to recently. She said that she started going through drive-through of a car wash when her son was young, and then she realized that now he was 18, she probably didn't need to do that. She could probably go and wash her own car, but she was still driving through the car wash just because it'd become a habit, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things I try to do. I try to wash my car because, like why sit there and watch someone have a coffee and watch someone else wash your car? Like why not I exercise and do it, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was just a good example of that someone mentioned.
I've got one.
Yes, thank you.
But I did put it in the chat because I didn't realise, I was thinking about it while you put up this, which is great. So mine's got to do with laundry washing. And it is literally, obviously you've got a basket full of wet things, and I'm talking about, things like bed sheets or things like that. They weigh more than your average clothes. So what I do is I make sure my basket is on the floor, and I put my clothesline just a little bit higher, so that I've literally got to do the bend up, you know, stretch the arms above the ears.
That's great. That's a really great strategy. I really like that.
Well, not many people think of it. And when I wasn't able to be as flexible as I am now, I literally had to have the basket at chest level and the
Right.
clothesline further down, so
Yeah.
that I was, you know, minimal movement. But now I didn't realize it had a name. So incidental movement. Yeah, I do a lot of those.
Yeah.
I incorporate. I have to go downstairs. No, I won't. Yes, hang on. There's steps. That's exercise. Go outside.
That's great. I really like that. And you know, I do that with washing as well. Like often I'll go, there's a lot of stuff I can just whack in the dryer, and then I think, oh, actually it's probably better for the washing to actually be on the line sometimes and getting some air. And actually I'm actually out there. I have to throw the ball to the dog. I have to bend down and throw the ball to the dog while I'm bending down and up, putting the washing on, and walk out, walk back, all of those things. So there's such great examples of little ways that we can fit more movement into our life, and it doesn't really impact you know, it doesn't have to take up so much time, but we're kind of actually exercising. Like I always say, you know, our body doesn't know if we're pushing a weight at the gym or pushing a lawnmower around our yard. Like it really doesn't. It just wants to, you know, move in all different ways. Yeah, lift heavy things, like lift heavy bags of groceries and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't distinguish between whether you're at the gym or whether you're in your backyard or squatting down to put up your washing. So yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Or in the kitchen cooking. So I cook in
Exactly.
batches, so the pots are heavy.
Yeah, that's a great idea as well, Christiane. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Great. Okay. So I just like to encourage people to explore some new movements. So just knowing that, you know, you're not too old and it's never too late to try something new. And I think that goes back again to the curiosity. I can't say that word today. Just thinking about what interests you. If you can't think of anything new, maybe just thinking of some forms of exercise or movement you did as a child that you might like to revisit. And again, going back to embracing being a beginner. So, you know, like I said, I used to struggle with this. I used to think, oh, I don't want to look like an idiot. But now, do you know what I've done? Since I'm in my late 40s, I started surfing for the first time. I look ridiculous, but I love it so much. I just love surfing so much. I can even get up on my board. I've even got a board. I've even got my own board now. I love it. And I don't care what I look like anymore. I think that's one of the benefits of aging. And then just knowing that almost every form of movement can be adapted to your body. Like Faith said about going to the gym and doing what she could in that class, even though she's got an injury. And I just popped this picture up of this lady belly dancing because it made me think, oh, I really want to try belly dancing. I've never done it before. I think that's something that I would like to try. So that's on my to-do list. And I just thought I'd share a few of the other kind of things that I'm thinking about. These are some things that some of them I do semi-regularly, so not enough. I'd like to maybe make more part of my life. Can't do everything all at once, but there's some of the things. So I don't know whether anyone would like to share if they've got anything they would like to try, something new or something that they did when they were a kid.
Oh.
Yes, Claire.
One of the things I really want to take up again for my 50th birthday, I worked with a teacher to do the Charleston. And I also had a group of swing dancers come, because I think if you look at swing dancers, it's probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So I'm going to be spending some time in Los Angeles where there's a massive swing dancing scene. And for me, it's like, you know, on a treadmill is not exactly a laugh riot. For me, dancing is just pure joy. The other thing is in Australia, they have a lot of ecstatic dance where you just move as just a therapeutic expression. No one's looking at you, and about just doing it as body work, you know. So I think that's kind of fun. Sounds like fun.
They're great examples. Thank you. I love that. Really good examples. Does anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I very, very old sport, roller skating.
Yeah. Great one.
That's one of them. Horse riding's another, but I don't know how good that's going to be. And like Cleo, I love dancing, but my one was to get back to Latin dancing.
Excellent.
Again, I don't know how my knees are going to like it, but I'm working slowly, and as you said, try beginners, you know.
Yeah.
Just do the beginners course.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Christina, for sharing. I love all of those. I think you light up when you talk about them. It's good.
Yeah, a group of friends and I don't know how to get into making a comment.
Yeah, it's good. We can hear you though, Lynn, so that's great. You go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, look, a group of friends and I, this is not altogether about movement, but some of it is as well. It's about going back to when you were talking about your attitude. I think there might be 8 of us now. We all come from a craft kind of background, knitting and crocheting mostly. And between us, we all realized that we were sick to death of sitting around with old women who moaned and moaned and moaned about their health, their husbands, their operations, their whole world. And we've got together as a little group. We take our knitting and our crochet everywhere we go with us, but we do things to challenge ourselves and to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. So going swimming one day was a big challenge to 2 of the women who, one of them has never learned to swim. So going to the beach and being waist deep in water, that was challenging for her. And the challenge I gave was we sang in a local park outside the library. We sang songs mostly from the 60s that we all knew, but for 2 of them, they were nearly having mental breakdowns, but we did it. It was just get out and do it.
That's great. I love that attitude, Lynn. That's really good. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. And yeah, there's benefits for knitting and crocheting is really good for your hands. Like hand strength and dexterity is a really good part of, movement of your hands and things. So, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't actually have to be exactly movement. It's just getting out and surrounding yourself with those people as well. And I just think that helps.
There's a local pub in the main street. It's quite funny. They make really, really nice coffee. Quite odd for a pub, but we very often go there and sit on the veranda outside, because inside's a bit smelly with stale beer. But we sit there having coffee, and some of the guys that walking into the pub, they sort of see us and they look again and they go, "What the hell?" But the boss of the pub actually loves us being there. Sometimes we say, "Oh, maybe it's time we took off," and he's saying, "No, stay as long as you like."
Great attitude. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Well, this has gone like much faster than what I was expecting. So we'll zoom through this last bit and try to get a couple of questions. But thank you. It's been great, so great having all this interaction throughout. I think it's helped everyone just to open up some ideas. So how do you create your ideal movement plan? So just a few ideas. I just think it's so important. I speak to so many women who are waiting, and I've done this myself. I've waited so often to do things and missed opportunities and haven't done things. So, a lot of women I speak to, they want to actually lose weight before they'll go to a gym. And it kind of even just saying it sounds a bit crazy. So don't wait until you lose weight or you are healthier to start. Obviously, if you've got a medical condition and, you're unwell, don't go and start training or whatever. But if you're just waiting, to lose weight, don't wait. Go and do it. Don't wait until next Monday, next month or next year. I was absolute expert at this. I always, would start a new exercise regime or diet every Monday or every start of the month or every start of the year. Always failed. It was really not helpful. So don't wait until, the next time. Again, just knowing that everyone started as a beginner. And then explore maybe what's holding you back. So, self-awareness really is the start of self-discovery. And I think, that's what I do a lot with my clients. We really look at, people say, I want to do this, but then they'll go and do that. And we have to work out why there's that disconnect and why that they can't move forward into living how they want to live and doing the things that they want to do. So just creating some self-awareness is really important. And then again, just knowing that it's never too late to start. This is something I think is one of the most important things. I would have loved to have gone through this today with everyone, but I think we're going to run out of time. But just thinking about what's your why? Why do you want to move your body more? Why do you want to live a healthy life? So a couple of my whys are I started traveling later in life, so I want to be able to travel all around the world and walk everywhere. I was just in New York last year with my son and husband, and I think we ended up walking nearly 20 kilometers a day. So we walked everywhere, and I think you see so much more when you walk around. So that's one of my whys. The other why is I love multi-day hiking. So I want to be able to hopefully keep hiking until I'm in my 90s. My other why actually is a simple thing, like I just want to be a good role model for my daughter. And so far, I think that's hopefully going okay. We're doing this half marathon together on the weekend, which is good. And just knowing that the most important type of movement and exercise is anything that brings you joy. So I've got this hoop thing. I obviously have this hoop genetic thing with my mum because I actually really like hooping. So I have a weighted hoop I use as part of my warm-up all the time when I do a workout in my garage gym. So finding those things that brings you joy. So the things that Christina was talking about with some things that she wants to try, you could just see her lighting up and hear in her voice that she lit up when she started talking about those. So that's kind of what we want to find. We want to find those forms of movement that bring you joy. There is a little bit of a caveat there. Sometimes you can do some forms of movement that might not bring you joy in the moment, but you feel great afterwards. So it's finding the joy whichever way you need to. And then just knowing that habits, and rituals are really important. So, and that behavior change, so trying to create these new habits with movement, it's not linear. There's no, here to there. There's lots of ups and downs, and that it does take time. And we have to find what works for our lifestyle. So there's no point trying to follow a plan that's not going to work for you. Again, knowing your why is your first step, and then just seeking help if necessary. So either people like me as a health coach or personal trainers and things like that, you have it within you. Everyone has it, particularly, women over 50, they have it within, we've got lots of experience and knowledge. We know kind of what doesn't work, and we kind of have it within us to create this healthy lifestyle. However, sometimes, you kind of just need a bit of help to get some clarity, direction, and accountability. So please reach out to people if you do need help, because it can make a difference. So we're just about to finish on time. I've zoomed the last little bit. So my Move Beautiful challenge to you this time is, first of all, to identify your why for moving. So that's always my number one. When you know your why, it really can help you move forward and create this lifestyle that you want. And the other thing is to brainstorm. You saw my little chart of all the different ideas that I had of the things that I want to kind of make part of my life or try and things. So brainstorm all the ways you might want to move your body. And then to try, my big challenge is for you to try one new form of movement in the next 30 days. And I would love if you emailed me or got back to me and let me know what that was and how it went and if you did it. So yeah, I think sometimes if we, again, don't wait. If there's something you're thinking about, just even explore it, even investigate it. Even that is a start. So I just want to finish here. Just with it's my favorite statement of all time. Just view movement, as Cleo mentioned earlier. This is an opportunity. View movement not as an inconvenience, but as an opportunity. So we can just create our best lives by moving our bodies more. So yeah, 1 minute to go. Approximately. I don't know whether you want to leave, like you can finish the recording, Faith, if you wanted to, and then people could ask questions afterwards if they want to ask any questions. Yeah, so if you want to contact me, there's my details all there. And as I said, I would love to hear about if you do try something new in the next 30 days, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks so much for everyone for contributing and being part of today. It's been really, really good.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks so much for contributing. That was great.